When it comes to RV brakes, there's one critical thing that you need to know before you pull off the lot with that recently purchased RV, or maybe you've had it serviced. So let's go to the shop. I'm gonna let you in on it, what it is. It may just save your life. In the trailer repair world, the thing that probably scares me the most, that I see probably the most mistake about, is brake issues and the lack of knowledge, or maybe the lack of teaching when it comes to how your brakes are set up, especially in the RV, travel trailer, fifth wheel industry. The problem is, say you go out and you purchase a new travel trailer and you're going to leave the lot with it today, or maybe you've brought it in and you bought it used, or maybe it's just had some mileage on it and you brought it in and you had a brake job done to it, and you have new brakes and new drums. Well, I think most people have the misconception, well, I've got new drums, new brakes, I am ready to roll, I'm ready to hit the mountains, and things will stop on a dime. Here is the issue when it comes to RVs specifically. This would relate to utilities and other trailers as well, but more specifically to the RV, because when you hook onto that RV, whether it's new or maybe you've got a little bit of gear in it, you already own it, it is at pretty much its max weight capacity. So it's not like going out and buying a utility trailer that you have 5,000 pounds worth of payload you can put on it. The trailer is lightweight. When you hook onto that RV for your very first time, or maybe your very first time after having it serviced, it's at its weight capacity. And if the brakes aren't 100%, you're gonna need to compensate for that. You can't just rip out of wherever you pick it up from the new dealer lot or your service lot, and expect it to stop on a dime. That's what we're gonna talk about today, how to keep you safe. Most importantly, how to keep you safe. It will save you some money, but at the end of the day, the money is really not the issue for me. It is pretty scary what I see on a daily basis, and when I talk to clients, and it's nobody's fault, I'm not knocking anybody here, it's maybe likely all of our faults, maybe we just need some better communication. So that's what I hope today in today's video is to better communicate that with, so you know what to look for. So here we have a new 6K drum, it's brand new, never been installed, and we also have a brake assembly. This would fit 5,200 pound up to 7K. Everything is brand new on here. So if you were to go buy that travel trailer new, or if you just had a new brake system put on it, maybe yours were worn out, or maybe you bought it used and you just wanted new stuff on it just to have a better peace of mind about it and still help you sleep at night. They're going to be brand new. All surfaces are machined on this drum. They're pretty, they're awesome. If they've been properly installed, any type of oil to keep it from flash rusting would have been removed. There's always a slight chance that we'll have some residual oil on there, whether it's new or if you had a new brake job. That's not the end of the world. What we're going to show here in a little bit will take care of that. So what happens when you buy that new trailer with a brand new axle on it, or if you've had it recently serviced, you also have new shoes. I've taken a shoe off of a 7K setup, and that shoe, it just works off friction. When we have this brake assembly here and you engage your brakes, that magnet engages and it pushes these brakes out. And once that happens, it pushes that brake into that drum. And you may have the misconception to think, well, that's just gonna work right off the bat. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. If you go today and you buy a brand new travel trailer on the yard that has 0 miles on it, it was hauled in on a trailer from the factory, it's never been on the road, you hook it onto your trailer, it's gonna have, or hook it onto your tow vehicle, I'm sorry, it's gonna have little to no brakes on it right on the beginning. And that may surprise you, but if you take it into a shop, if I were to work on it and put a brand new brake system, replace all the components brand new and done everything to the book above and beyond, it's gonna have little to no brakes on it when you pull off. Those reasons being, the brakes are cold. The main reason is they have not been burnished in. And the other words for burnishing in would be called brake seating. I think some places, depending on what part of the country, you're gonna call it bedding. It's all the same thing, or marrying even. It's basically, this brake shoe has to be seated in through the burnishing process against these two surfaces in order to make sure this curvature is 100%. This curvature, any superficial rust or any, maybe a little bit of, if it's got some fingerprints or oil or whatever, that has to be taken off, and these two pieces need to be married together. They need to be seated in. Once that happens, your brakes will start working a ton better than they were before. The problem I see, we'll do a brake job for someone that's maybe, hey, I'm leaving to go to Colorado next week, and we'll do a brake job for them. I discourage that, unless you're capable of doing your own brake adjustments. Even if you put self-adjusters on there, you have to know what you're doing. The first thing you're gonna have to do is to burnish those brakes in. We're gonna leave a link in the description below for brake burnishing to show how that works. It's basically just in the beginning, getting the brakes warm, getting them hot maybe, not to where they're gonna burn all the grease out of it, but just speeding that process up, getting them burnished in, and either manually doing your first adjustment, which I recommend whether you're using an auto adjuster or not, or hoping that your auto adjusters will do that initial brake adjustment. After that, you need to be adjusting your brakes per manufacturer spec. Every spec is a little bit different on there, but if they say to do a brake adjustment at 3,000 miles, you need to do it at 3,000 miles. If they say to do one at 10,000, then do it at 10,000, depending on size of axle and again, on the brake system and manufacturer. You have to do that because if you were to come and hook up to say a 15,000 pound fifth wheel, or maybe it's a bumper pull, and you pull out on the highway and you go to stop, you're not gonna have adequate braking. Your tow vehicle is gonna be doing most of the braking. So the way you would get around that is you're gonna have to give yourself a little time. You're not gonna be in a rush. When you get ready to stop, you're gonna have to expand your stopping distance to give you that buffer in between whatever's in front of you, whether it be a stop sign or somebody stops, so that you don't run over them. You can't just get in there and run the controller up to 10 and hope for the best. What you will do in there is get these so hot, you will boil the grease out of them and potentially cause a fire, and then you'll have zero brakes and maybe even burn your newly or recently serviced travel trailer to the ground. We don't want to start the summer off that way. You need to educate yourself on the brake system. You need to know when to adjust it, how to adjust it, how to operate that brake controller, and we have videos on most all those subjects that go in depth per component, per operation. We'll leave in the link in the description below, but it's your responsibility to know how to do that. I will say, if there's any dealers watching, hopefully you are, if you're not telling your customer, if they come in and buy a new trailer, and if you're not telling them, hey, you need to burnish your brakes, there's some things you're gonna need to do, they're not gonna work 100%, then you're not doing your job. You need to step it up. You need to give them, if nothing else, just for liability for you. You don't just send them out there. That may be their first trailer they've ever pulled. If you've bought your first trailer, you've pulled it, and you've had this issue, leave a comment, link in the description below. I would like to see how many issues you have that, maybe share your story. It can be scary, but it could be even fatal if you're not careful in that, if you can't stop. At the end of the day, it's your responsibility to keep yourself safe and all the rest of the motoring public safe as well. We all have to work together and educate ourselves. If you're a repair facility out there watching, if you do a brake job for somebody, have it in the notes. Tell them, hey, there's some very important information, the most important information on your receipt that tells you what you're gonna need to do, because you have recently had a brake job, and there's some things that it is your responsibility to make sure that you educate yourself on and to do it correctly. You also need to know how to operate that brake controller, but you've got to burnish in your brakes. This is probably the most overlooked thing that I see, from utility trailers all the way up to a big old 17, 18,000 pound fifth wheel. But when it comes to RVs, I think it's the most dangerous and most critical, because they're so heavy. They will push a vehicle so hard if the brakes aren't working. So if you're going to buy one maybe this weekend, or if you're having one serviced, give yourself some time before you go on that big trip. Get your brakes in good operating condition before you take off and go across country. Or if you're going to be using it, just give yourself time. Make sure you give yourself adequate stopping distance until they get burnished in. It takes anywhere from 200 to 500 miles to get burnished in. So in theory, you could take that trip and burnish them in and do your brake adjustment, but you're going to have to stay on top of it. You can't get in there and just drive and hope for the best. It's like tightening your lug nuts. We haven't said that in a while. Your brakes have got to work, they have got to stop, and your lug nuts have to be tight. You need to stop the brakes and tighten the lug nuts. If you will do that, you may save yourself a catastrophe. You will definitely save yourself some money, and you'll learn something. So do your job as the owner to make sure you've read your owner's manual, searched online, watched YouTube, whatever it may be. Get the Googler out. And if you're selling product like this, just don't try to hurry up and close the deal. Be a good salesman and give them some information that may save somebody's life in that. I don't know what the statistics are on brake failure and poor operation of brakes, but I would say they would be pretty high. In my opinion, the brakes are the most overlooked component on the trailer. They have to work. Make sure that you do a good job on it. So to recap, if you've purchased that new RV, if you've recently had a brake job on your RV, you have to burnish them in. It's not a maybe, it's not a when I get to it, it's not maybe one of those days, it's a right now. Burnish your brakes in, make your brake adjustment, and keep up with your brake adjustments, or they're not going to work. They will fail, they will wear out, it will cause you trouble. To what level of trouble, I can't say that. You'll have to find that out the hard way. So get your brakes stopping, tighten your lug nuts, and we will see you down the road.